Randy and Julie Gariss have been working at College Heights Christian Church in Joplin, Missouri for over 3 decades. They've developed a good bit of a reputation as a couple who know how to get it right with fun. Let's talk about that, about your experience there, about your marriage, about your approach to parenting and family life. I mean, really, you guys do have a good bit of a national reputation as people who not only have a good marriage and good parents, but even have fun. How'd you do that?
We didn't do it alone. I look up and go, there's a kindness of God to put us in a stable, strong leadership. And it takes such heavy burdens off people's shoulders you can't amplify. You can take more risk. People can't take risk without a great eldership around them that just manages so much of the heavy stuff of life that comes in this line of work. So when you see somebody who gets to do some of the whipped cream or topping type neat things in ministry, you always know there's a foundation there that let them do it. And there's other people who are far better than we are at all these things. But for some reason, they were put in a situation that they just had to be so serious and so heavy and deal with such tough things, and nobody ever gave them protection.
You know, we're here at the North American Christian Convention in Louisville, out on the floor, so there's lots of noise around us. You know, you see a lot of people you know, a lot of people who come to you. What are the greatest needs you see among the generation following behind you in ministry? The things that cause the consternation in their faces as you walk these halls?
I think one of those things is they need strong mentoring. They plead for it, in fact, and yet this is a generation that thinks of themselves as so connected because they're Facebooking and they're texting while they're doing all this, but to have real FaceTime with somebody like we're doing right now, not so much.
Yeah.
And they long to have our generation step into their lives. I think it's crucial. It's important.
The link from one generation to the next is always a struggle.
Yeah.
But the people that of this younger generation want to do ministry, I mean, they already started community better than we did, I thought. But what they don't have, and what they long for, and would really even give them great protection, is that they could get those generational connections with somebody in ministry, somebody who's been godly for a lot of years. The absence of those relationships, they tend to be symbolic for this younger generation because they're just such changes in the church landscape, such changes in patterns of how we do church, that the generation that's coming up, they need old codgers. They need old codgers, and old codgers need them a whole lot equally, maybe more. But that would be the one thing I would immediately do if I could wave a magic wand, is I would put these terrific, talented, young ministry leaders, I'd immediately put them in the hip pocket of somebody who just loved on them from an older generation.
You guys do a lot of marriage seminars. What kind of trends do you see? What kind of issues do you try to address?
Randy does the marriage seminars, but I'm the illustrations for him. I've taught him everything he needs to know, good and bad. But yeah, go ahead. I mean, what's the things you see most?
For the most part, what you find is that there's a lack of understanding of what knits one heart to another. This generation probably still believes that somehow having common interests and having just a common bond is something that's a little out of their control. You either have it or you don't. And just that straight, hard work of investing in your mate so that your heart follows. The principle of Jesus, that where your investment is, there where your heart may also, is not just about treasure, things, and money. That I don't care how much of a jerk I am. If my wife invests in me, her heart will be here. And no matter how good I am on my best days, I'm not attractive enough for her to be in love with me. And
we've noticed this.
Yeah. She has too, I'm sure. But worship and investment will bring her heart in. And so I think the younger couples, if anything else, just have to have somebody sort of coach them along on that, because they just really do believe that the chemistry's right. It'll be good forever. But people change too much, and it doesn't hold, and the circumstances change. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing we talk about a lot, is just having this massive investment
been married for 38 years. What kind of changes have you had to go through in your own life?
Oh my goodness. I think of myself, the girl he married was somewhat comfortable in her own skin, but still very, very insecure and still struggle with some of those. But I have definitely evolved into a person I never dreamed I would be, and having the opportunities to be that person. And I gotta say, he's my cheerleader, and I appreciate that so much. And he's allowed me to go be involved in people's lives, and whether speaking or having kids in my home, whatever it may be. So I just I see that for myself and him. He sees himself as being a person that's changed a lot over the years. I don't know that I necessarily do, but I always thought he was a wise guy in the best sense of that word. But he has become much stronger. Grateful for it.
Well, we go back to the whole principle that you marry, that you marry them because you really love who they are and how they are. 38 years of marriage, Julie's been married to 3 different guys, and all of them me. And if she loved only the guy I was, I can't stay the guy I was. And I'm being pretty serious when I say I'm far more happy-go-lucky and active and social when I first got married, and now she's married to a brown paper sack. And I'm happy it's a brown paper sack, but she had to figure out how to love the me I became, as opposed to just the me I was. And kids have trouble figuring that out. That, I mean, we married this one because we didn't want that one. Well, the trouble is, this one will kind of become that one eventually. And so I think that's everybody's journey. But once you figure out how to love somebody, no matter what they become.
What would your 3 children affirm most about growing up in your household? What have they affirmed?
We had fun.
Yeah, we had fun.
I can't say that we were one of those that were the best at sitting down and having the devotions. We did often, I'm not saying we didn't. But I can assure you that what I would hear every one of them say is that we sat and talked through whatever it was they were struggling with, whatever, and applying those biblical principles to it has mattered so much. And we had counseling going on in our house all the time. So they saw not only the good, they saw the bad and the ugly. And I really have no doubt that helped strengthen their own faith. Help them
kids
grow.
would say that.
You know, they would look at those ones that were just amazing illustrations and go, I want my faith to be like that. And the ones that were struggling, that's why I don't want it. I don't want to imitate that. This is the repercussions you'll have if you do go that direction. So I am so grateful for the people, both good and struggling, that we had in our home.
I would throw in here that I'm not a believer in the language that talks about protecting your family from ministry. And here's a funny little set of words on this. You got to deeply invest in your family. That's part of our ministry. But I think you have to include ministry into the house where you are. So your kids don't live in this sort of Alice in Wonderland where there's one world and a rabbit hole and another world. You tie the two together. The alcoholics who had supper with us shaped to raising their kids as much as anything else in incredible ways. And the retired missionary off the field of 40 to 60 years being in Ireland, I mean, I tend to think of Isabel Dinamore, just a name out of the past. Our kids couldn't say Isabel, they called her Jingle Bells because the name, but Isabel in her home, and then the alcoholic the next night. So don't protect your family too much from ministry. Invest in your family deeply. And I'll always say that. But bring life into your home, because your kids will actually flourish from that, and they see that we're not just pitch a sniffle here. We're not just talking out of the back of a Buick or something, selling something on the street corner. This is real stuff. And so be more real in your family would be our first thought. Our kids love the church. Our kids do not resent the church. They love the church.
They do.
And the church needs a complement of that, in the sense that we always had stable leadership, and you know, I mean, we had our hurts like every other congregation would, but our leadership was good. Our kids loved the church, and I think that part of that was bringing the ministry in.
And it shows. It shows in the kind of congregation we had. It shows in the wisdom. It shows in the wisdom of writing that you do for our magazine, the kind of voice that you speak. Speaks solid words to those coming another generation. Thanks so much for taking a minute or two just to talk with us about your ministry and thank you for taking the time to